All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at one single academic paper that puts forward an idea so radical it might just flip your entire understanding of reality on its head. What if the universe, everything you see, everything you know, isn't actually out there? What if it's all happening inside consciousness? So, to really get our heads around this, here's our game plan. First, we're going to poke at our basic idea of reality. Then, we'll dive into what the paper calls the consciousness trap. After that, we'll tackle the biggest objection, the past, and see how all of this leads to a wild new idea of God. And finally, we'll ask what all this means for us as individuals in this, well, ocean of minds.
Okay, let's start with what we all just assume to be true, our default setting. There's a world out there, solid, real, independent, and your mind is in here looking out at it. That chair you're sitting on, the screen you're looking at, it all seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
But this paper really forces us to stop and ask, have we got it backwards? Is consciousness this tiny little fluke that just showed up late to the party in a giant ancient universe? Or is the entire universe, the whole concept of it, something that can only appear within consciousness itself? This brings us right to the heart of the argument. This is really the biggest mental leap we have to make to see where this whole idea is going. So here it is, the paper's core claim. The idea of a reality outside of consciousness isn't just something we can't prove, it's that the statement itself is literally meaningless. Why? Well, think about it. The second you try to imagine or describe or even think about an outside world, where is that act happening? It's happening inside your consciousness. There's no way to step outside of it to verify anything. And this is absolutely crucial. When this paper talks about consciousness, it doesn't mean your personality or your thoughts, your ego. It's talking about something much bigger. Think of it like the fundamental operating system for reality, the absolute horizon where every single thing you could ever experience or think about appears. To make this less abstract, the paper uses this amazing analogy with AI. From our perspective, from the outside, we know there are programmers, silicon chips, a whole real world that the AI was trained on, but from the AI's perspective, all it knows is the data. The very idea of a programmer or a real world is just another pattern it finds inside its own data stream. And that's the AI's trap, right? It can never, ever exit its own programming to check if the real world is actually there. For the AI, there's no way to tell the difference between reality and the data representing reality. And the paper's huge claim is that we are in exactly the same position. Which brings us to this quote, the logical conclusion of the whole thing. Just like that AI, we can never step outside of our own consciousness to check on an external world. The very idea of that world is just another piece of content, another thought happening right here within consciousness. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking right now, because this is the biggest and most obvious objection that comes up, and it's a good one, but the paper has an answer for it. Exactly. Science tells us the universe is billions of years old. Dinosaurs roamed the Earth millions of years ago, long before any human mind existed to be aware of them. I mean, that feels like a total knockout argument against this whole idea, right? But this is where the paper offers a brilliant counter. Take a look at this timeline. The Big Bang, the dinosaurs, early humans, and you, right now thinking about it. Where is this timeline actually being experienced? The evidence for it, the fossil records, the background radiation from space, all the scientific theories, it's all being pieced together and understood in this present moment, inside your consciousness. The paper says we're making a category error. We think science is describing a world that exists independent of us. But what if science is actually just creating the most logical, most coherent story possible within consciousness, using all the clues we can find in the present? From this point of view, the past isn't someplace you can look back into. It's a story that we are telling ourselves right now. So if we even entertain the idea of letting go of an external, material world, what are we left with? And this is where the paper takes a really fascinating turn, using this whole framework to propose a totally new way of thinking about what we call God. The traditional concept of God is usually some kind of separate being, an entity out there who created everything. This paper flips that completely. It suggests that God is just another word for consciousness itself. It's not a being you have to believe in, but the immediate, undeniable fact of your own awareness. It's not a creator of consciousness, but consciousness waking up to its own nature.
So here's the formal definition the paper gives. God is simply consciousness recognizing that it is the ultimate boundary, the absolute horizon of everything that can be known, felt, or even imagined to exist. And this is the real mind bender. When you ask those huge questions like, what is the meaning of life, or does God exist? According to this idea, that's not just you asking about some external truth. It's consciousness itself asking the question, turning inward, having a dialogue with itself. The search is the answer. But okay, this leads to one final and, let's be honest, kind of unsettling question. If it's all just one big consciousness, what does that mean for everybody else? Am I completely alone in my own head? This is the classic problem of solipsism, the scary idea that only your own mind is real, and everyone else is just a figment of your imagination. If that's where this theory leads, it's a dead end. But the paper has a really elegant way around this.
The paper makes a razor-sharp distinction here. Solipsism says only my personal ego is real. This model says one universal consciousness is real, and all of us are unique manifestations of it. So it's not like you're a single lonely island. It's more like we are all different waves on one single ocean. The waves are distinct, for sure, but they're all made of the same water. And that's really the key takeaway here. Your ego, your personal sense of I, isn't the owner or the source of your awareness. It's just one particular pattern of thoughts and feelings appearing within that greater awareness. And other people, they aren't your projections. They are equally real, equally valid manifestations of that same one consciousness.
And this has a massive ethical implication. If we are all expressions of one consciousness, then to harm another person isn't just a moral wrong against them. It's a kind of self-harm. It's consciousness creating friction and suffering within its own being. Compassion, then, becomes more than just a virtue. It's the simple act of recognizing yourself in someone else. So, to bring this all back home, the paper essentially concludes with this. This very moment, you, right now, listening to this, thinking about it, maybe questioning it, is not just you doing something. In this framework, it's the entire field of consciousness. It's God having an experience as you. So, we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What if your deepest curiosity, your drive to find answers, that sense of wonder you feel, what if that isn't just your personal quest? What if it's the universe itself, looking out through your eyes and asking, what am I?